thank you so much, and thank you everything for coming. So probably you know that starting a business is a difficult task with a lot of particular, difficult task with a lot of talent, particularly in emerging markets. So in this panel, we will explore the journey to construct and building ecosystem. So we want to start with Ines. Maybe you can explain at first what is EFNA, and looking across ecosystems in many European countries, what are the common challenges that most countries face?
Oh, thank you, Maria. Nice to have you all here. So ESNA was created back in 2021 after a declaration of 27 European countries that decided to unify efforts to have frameworks, policy frameworks regarding 8 standards of nations regarding the startup ecosystem, so that it was possible to have a startup-friendly ecosystem in Europe. And after this declaration of 27 governments of these countries, ESNA was created also to bring this declaration into operations. So it's not just an aspiration, but it brings operations to the ecosystem. So we have differences in practices in Europe, but common challenges. Namely, the access to finance. It's difficult for all startups. The regulatory frameworks are difficult to be harmonized, but our goal and our work is to work with the government so that it's possible to align expectations both with the policymakers and with the startup ecosystem itself. So this innovation part of the startups is part of the ecosystem, and we want to take the most of these startup characteristics.
Okay, thank you. Here we have two very different ecosystems between Europe and also Cuba. So Marta, can you explain what is Mandao and what is the Cuban context for the ecosystem and the current challenge for startup there, considering all the factors that you have in that country?
Yeah. Okay. Well, Mandao is a delivery company. Yeah, we have an app. We work with more than 300 restaurants. We have our own market that we sell many products for the population. We are in 8 cities in Cuba. We have 170,000 users in the app. So we grew a lot during the pandemic. The whole ecosystem in Cuba is very new. So we didn't have private companies since 2021. So it's super new. But it's growing a lot. Now we have maybe 35% of the working population works for the private sector. So it's huge and it's growing a lot. So it's many opportunities there because everything is to be done. But of course we face many challenges because it's super new. We don't have like a proper legislation for the companies, for private companies. Plus that we have a very complicated economic situation, and we have a lack of electricity and many spaces, so it's complicated sometimes to connect to internet. We have a huge inflation as well, so we are facing this problem with 2 currencies, and it's a huge challenge for many companies. But still, when I see 11 years ago when I started as a self-employed, but because we couldn't have our own private companies, and I see myself now, I see like a huge step forward, so we are happy for that.
Okay, you're working for that. Okay, Javier, I know that you have an interesting history about how did you meet Cuba. So can you tell about how did you know this ecosystem and what is that caught your attention to start Vangelis Technicians? Also explain a little about what is Vangelis Technicians there.
Well, my story about Cuba comes after a very particular situation because I used to work at Desigual as innovation director, and then almost 2 years ago I decided to quit my job, and then I was traveling. I I was doing typical things that you never do when you are working with this inertia. And then I decided to write a book. I published a book, travel a lot, know many people, and many different things. Yeah. Then in one of these trips, I was in Jamaica in a congress of artificial intelligence. And then I met with a friend in Cuba for a little holidays. But after 3 days in Cuba, I decided I wanted to stay longer because I wanted to write another book, a novel, inspired in Cuba. And then I stayed like 3 months or something like that. And in the garage of a little hotel where I used it to work, to write, casually, the neighbor was Mandao and was Marta, the team of Negolution, and so, and then we met each other, and I saw that the ecosystem in Cuba has a very powerful potential to do many things because there are a lot of things to do actually, yeah? And the people there has a lot of motivation and a lot of creativity that I have never seen in other parts of the world, actually. So then I decided to try something to support, and with Marta, we create the non-profit organization Vangelis Tech Mission to send support in technology resources to Cuba from other parts of the world with missions and collaboration with people and voluntary who want to go there to collaborate in some technical and technology missions. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Ines, considering this scenario, what advice would you share with other regions looking to strengthen their startups ecosystem, especially maybe in the Caribbean?
Definitely, I would recommend startup-friendly policies. And regarding these 8 policy dimensions that we have in Europe that were agreed by the governments, I think it's important to mention the 8 dimensions briefly because it's the way we see the ecosystem can be boosted in Europe and be a benchmark for the other countries and the other geographies. So the first one is fast startup creation and smooth market entry. We understand that creating a company should be fast, less than 1 day and less than 100 euros. Then we need to attract and retain highly qualified talent. So tech talent must be attracted to be part of this startup ecosystem, both in Europe and all the other geographies as well. Stock options are benefits that are good for the startup founders and for the startup employees, and we are addressing the question of having stock options schemes with non-voting rights options. Then we have the innovation in regulation with the think small first principle and with the use of regulatory sandboxes for implementation of the new products and services that the startups think about and propose to the market. Then we have innovation in procurement, and it's important to have the startups in the public procurement area because they have this innovative nature that brings to the public system a good benefit, and it's important also for the startups to have access to a sizable market. Then we have the inclusion, the social inclusiveness, and it's important to have access for the startup ecosystem to underprivileged founders from other social contexts. And we have this digital first. It's important also to have all the relationships with the government, with the public entities being digital, because we need a digital ecosystem to boost this leadership of the startups in the ecosystem. And lastly, but not the least, access to finance. It's important also to create conditions for startups to scale up both in Europe and in the other geographies, and to have access to different instruments regarding finance. And I think it's This is what I would recommend.
Okay, thank you. Marta, you mentioned before that you have a difficult situation in Cuba considering the political and economic system it has. So how can this ecosystem be open to the outside world, maybe for the investor, for the VC and others?
Yeah, I mean, we were speaking before because Ines just mentioned like what you need. You need a framework. You need and also the will of the government that okay, this is important. I will put effort on it, and I will develop policies and regulatory system for create and grow this ecosystem. So we need this. Of course, this is a process. As I mentioned before, everything is, so the private companies is just from 2021. So it takes time. So, and also, we come from a government also that it tries to control. So, and for startups, you need to be more open and let the people be creative on that. So it's a process that I think it will take time, but for us that we are part of it, we are creating and pushing, and every time we have opportunities to speak, we are asking things that we need. Of course, it's in a very complicated situation because we don't have access to finance, we don't have like private banks, and our banks doesn't have money. So it's a really challenging a place to create a company, but I think it's we need to work maybe more with the people that listen to us inside of the government, or maybe with the European Union that we were started before, to create more spaces and the people understands more what we need, right? But it will take some time.
Okay, but Javier, how do you think your work with Vangelis can help scale the Cuban ecosystem considering all these factors?
Yeah, so we create Vangelis technicians to resolve a problem, actually, because we saw that, for example, many qualified people working on startups in Cuba are going out of the country because you have more opportunities in other countries, yeah? And then we had to fill those slots, yeah, to make possible the scale the startups and the companies, and also to make possible a sustainable growth, yeah. And that's the point with Vangelis technicians. Also because we believe that the ecosystem in Cuba with this kind of support could be very attractive in the region of Caribe, because the geographical point is very strategical, actually. We have United States, Mexico, South America. The connection with Europe are very direct, and the standard qualification of the population in Cuba is very high, actually. So we think we have a lot of things to make possible this ecosystem growth, yeah. But we need this support. Yeah, that could be great. Yeah.
You need to work hard for that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And for you, Ines, how do you see the European startup ecosystem evolving in the next 5-10 years? And what will the role engagement with the policymakers play in shaping this future?
I see Europe as having a leading position because it's lagging behind other geographies, but it's working hard to have this leading position regarding the startup ecosystem. So if you think about innovation, innovation means also acceleration, and we need implementation and people hands-on in the policy-making side as well, aligned with the startup founders. So in Europe, we are taking the best practices around the European countries and around the world and sharing these best practices so that countries can apply their national frameworks according to their national context, but having an alignment between governments and between the startups and the policymakers. For example, if you think about AI, Europe has this first-in-kind AI approach at European level, thinking about the dual principle of AI, both excellence and trustworthy. So it's important for us to trust in AI. It's important to take the most of the excellence of AI. So if we assess the risk, we can have the right approach for this risk. And Europe is working with in this side as well. And we at ESNA are working with the countries with a service line that takes care of the specificity of each country and taking in consideration benchmarks of other countries.
Okay. And for you, Marta, how do you see the next few years for the growth on an ecosystem like the Cuba one? Maybe what do you think about the artificial intelligence now that it's fostering maybe more innovation there?
How I see it inside of Cuba, you mean?
No. How do you think for the growth ecosystem in Cuba and maybe the impact of artificial intelligence there for growing the ecosystem?
Well, so this is very, very new in general for us. Now we were just recently, our COO is here. She was teaching our team to how to use ChatGPT. many of these tools are blocked because we are a blog country, so you have to use VPN to get access to it. So it's complicated when you don't have like a proper internet to use AI. Now people is introducing AI in their own companies. It's something that is starting. I have been. I have a business magazine as well. It's called Negolution. So we do many workshops with entrepreneurs there, and we were, speaking about some tools. And the people see the world like, oh my God, this is like, I'm facing with inflation, blackouts in my house, but this is a new world. But I think yes, definitely in the Cuba, and for that is so important, Vangelis. It's an island that have been in some way isolated from the world. So the interchange and everything is. We need to comfort for the people to open to the world, and AI is one of these things. It's for us, it's a very new things for even for entrepreneurs that are very creative. But what we want and what I see is more and more the people are opening to not only AI, to everything, to the world, to think wider and bigger what they can do with their companies and with themselves, right? That's our view.
Very good. Javier, how attractive is the ecosystem in Cuba and why? And maybe if you can talk about the difference between that you see in Spain and now in Cuba and your special motivation for...
Yeah, well, I think the Cuba ecosystem is very particular, but at the same time it's very attractive because it has a lot, so the to-do list is huge, yeah? And I think this is the most important thing when you are an entrepreneur and you need to see the opportunities and you need to work on these opportunities. Yeah, we have two different versions of Vangelis technician support. Yeah, from the business company. Yeah, sending the teams for these missions and this collaboration. For example, we can think the Globo here could send people to Mandao to work in different things or projects on the company, and also the digital nomads. Yeah, We facilitate the place for living, we facilitate the flight tickets, and also all the service and facilitation facilities there in Cuba. And also Cuba is an amazing country. I don't know if many people here maybe know Cuba for holidays place, vacations. So Cuba is an amazing country. The people is super nice. So I think it can be very joyful stay there for 2-3 months collaborating with a company there. And also because I think as worker, as employer, or as a digital nomad or whatever, you can add for yourself a lot of different skills working in the Cuba ecosystem, because you are gonna need a lot of adaptive skills, creative skills. So I think this kind of a skill that we follow here in Europe, like so very strongly, in Cuba, is something that you have to. Yeah? So you need to do it. So I think the collaboration is quite challenging, but so so if someone wants to collaborate with us, please contact us, get in touch with Marta, with me, with evangelistech.org. So I think the experience in this kind of collaboration is going to be totally different that you know already. So go ahead on that, and yeah.
Okay, Ines, where is the group being particularly innovative right now? What do you think, and which are the most important challenges for the future and the ecosystem here?
Yes, the startup ecosystem is part of an innovation ecosystem, and what brings innovation, it's both the innovative side of it and the unknown side of it. So we need to have the policy makers ready to implement and accelerate implementation regarding and considering this unknown element. So that's why I think ESNA is one in kind, in the sense that it was a declaration that brings the aspiration to operations in an innovative ecosystem, with the startups contributing to also for the public sector. So this alignment between the innovators and the policy makers, between the public and the private sector, both in the regulatory frameworks and also in the involvement of the startup ecosystem in the public area, in the public sector, because startups can also improve the public sector as well. And then we need to have in consideration this attraction and retention of talent, tech talent in Europe, and also thinking that bureaucracy can be a problem and can be an obstacle. So we need to face this and deal with this and think how can we simplify things, being also compliant with the guidelines that we need and all the requirements that needed. That's why ESNA is working with the governments and with the startups to do this bridge between the needs of the startup ecosystem and the requirements of the government. And also, it's important to have this link between the public and private sector to have a digital ecosystem. That's why I think this innovative part is a global part and an holistic approach that ESNA is in its mission.
Okay, thank you. And for you, Marta, what do you think are the next challenge for Cuba ecosystem to grow, and which other ecosystem is a good example for the next level in your country?
Well, it's for me it's super. I mean, I always laugh because Americans love to say, "How do you see yourself in the next 5 years?" I always say, "I don't know," because it's really complicated. So I know what I want for my company, but in a very unstable and uncertainty place, it's difficult. It's difficult to say, but no, for sure, And this is just facts and needs. You know, as I mentioned before, 35% of the working population is working in the private sector. So as many companies, now we have more than 12,000 private companies, but many other people working as a self-employed, other people working as in private company, agricultural companies, and so this is going to be and is, but will be you know, a very important part of the Cuban economy. Now our government is reviewing this law to launch a new law. Let's see what this is going to happen, but for sure, as I mentioned, private sector came to stay, and most of the food that you can find in our country is imported by the private sector or is produced by the private sector. Basic needs, even to repair the streets, construction, everything is private sector now. The importing cars, even all the tech companies, it's private. Are private. Many software companies are private. So. So we, of course, without financing, it's really complicated. So this is something that we really need. Is we need also a very regulatory situation, because there are many restrictions. But I see that, you know, this is a way, this is a path that won't stop. This is the future of Cuba. Will be in the hands of the entrepreneurs and the private companies. So that's something that we are working in, and also my other company, the Business Magazine, we are trying to support and develop and help and give the people tools. Maybe I can't give them money, but I can give them tools and advices and connect them with other entrepreneurs to develop their companies. So I see a real future in the hands of the entrepreneurs of Cuba.
Okay, we don't have a lot of time, but just last question for you, Javier. What will be your message to those who want to participate in the Cuban and Caribbean ecosystem?
Sorry?
What will be your message to the people who want to participate in the Cuban and Caribbean ecosystem?
Well, try to think. There are many things to do in Cuba, as I told you before, but also because it's something that you can take as a value add for yourself. I think the satisfaction when you are doing something over your needs or your objectives is quite satisfying. But also because you are participant trying to scale and to make possible the growth and a very particular ecosystem like in Cuba. Yeah. So in this case, if you want to participate with us, please get in touch with Marta, with me, as I told you before. We are going to make all the possible things for make possible a great experience for you as a worker, as a person, and as for your future. Yeah. So, and in this stage, yeah, please.